NASCAR season picking up. Richmond Raceway will have coverage at the track this weekend, and it includes the regular season finale for the Craftsman Truck Series. And back in a truck this weekend for Ream Brothers Racing is our next guest back on the show as well, Stephen Mallozzi. Thanks for stopping by.
Anytime, Eddie, anytime.
Let's start with your racing, Stephen. Of course, you ran a few races earlier in the year. You're going to be back under the lights at Richmond this weekend. New test, new challenge. Thoughts on the expectations for this weekend and how you stay ready getting back in the car? Because I believe, this is your first start since Rockingham?
Yeah, it's been a while. Actually, funnily enough, I am racing with a broken collarbone this weekend. So I did it. I'd like it to be noted that I did it before Connor Zillage made it cool.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I knew Connor pretty decently back when we were in go-karts. He was a few years younger than I was, but when I was a commentator, Connor was always in a lot of the series that I would end up commentating for. So to see him now winning Xfinity races is kind of insane to me. Not just some, 6 of them. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to being back in the saddle. Same sort of deal as earlier in the year, but every time I get behind the wheel of a race car, I'm always excited to be behind the wheel of a race car. It's a blessing, right? Like, there's not many people who get to drive race cars, and there's not many people who get paid to do it. So the fact that I am one of those few is a great thing for me, and it makes me happy no matter what capacity I'm behind the wheel in. So I'm really excited. Another track off the bucket list too, so I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Now I gotta ask, the collarbone injury, did it involve you climbing out of any sort of car or truck?
It did not. It actually involved me golfing.
Really?
I picked up golf about 6 weeks ago now, and first time out, I swung straight into the ground and realized my collarbone was hurting, and I went to go get x-rays, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, dude, your collarbone's broken." I'm like, "Oh, that would explain why I've been in so much pain the past few weeks." So yeah, been an interesting stretch of dealing with the collarbone for sure.
So you mentioned, of course, the Xfinity Series, everything that went down with Connor Zillage, and transitioning more to stuff outside of trucks. The product in the Xfinity Series, Stephen, these last few weeks has been really good. The ratings have shown it. There's been tons of storylines really all summer. And then when you compound that with the Cup Series, where there hasn't been much going on at all with these short tracks and road courses, it's created quite the phenomenon, and I saw you tweeting about it. A lot of people have been discussing it. It feels like the secondary series right now is outclassing the Cup Series in several ways.
Yeah, and what's crazy is, too, it's doing it on the CW. And by the way, that's not a bash on the CW, but, it is definitely, not as mainstream as the audience as the Cup is in. Cup is in big-time stuff, right? And here's the Xfinity Series killing it on the CW. Honestly, it's baffling. And I think I'm more fired up about it when I'm watching the races. Now it's Tuesday. I've calmed down a little bit. The reality is, right, it's right there. How do we watch the two races and think, man, that Cup Series race was awesome? And what's so unbelievable to me, Eddie, is there's people who are under that tweet defending it. I'm like, oh, there's snooze fests all the time. What's going to kill NASCAR is all the people tweeting and whining about it. No, I almost just said a bad word. It is absolutely terrible. It's awful to watch. And I feel like I'm back almost to the 550 horsepower days, right? I really do. I feel like I'm at that level of screaming at the fence. I don't understand it. And even the intermediates, which I admit are entertaining races, still have their problems. They're still not great, right? And I saw some other people on Twitter who were like, well, look at all these people who were passing in the final stage, yada, yada, yada. Well, you understand that that's because we found a little bit of a tire thing here where there was some substantial fall off. In stage one, Alex Bowman and William Byron made contact in 7. Byron lost 2 or 3 spots. From that point until pit cycles, there was not a single pass, not one pass inside the top 20. Do you know how insane that is to say out loud?
It's unbelievable.
That's crazy. So, and the fact that people could justify watching 2 hours of that to get to stage 3 where we had a little bit of strategy come to play. And then, by the way, some people would also tweet the restart at stage 2. The only passing opportunities then were created because 4 cars started up front on old tires and caused some chaos, which allowed for some shuffling. Outside of that, it was pretty generic racing the rest of the time where you could not make a move. My problem with it, Eddie, is not the fact that we have no solution yet. It's the fact that we keep doing the same damn thing over and over again. When are we going to try a different aero package? When are we going to try more horsepower? When are we going to try different gearing? When are we going to try something that makes me say, well, it was the same thing, but at least I had a reason to expect different this week? Because at this point, right, next time we go to a short track or a road course or some type of racetrack like that, what's the point of me watching? The fact that Brad Keselowski sat behind Byron for 50 laps with a race car that was substantially better than the 24 and had to move him out of the way with 3 to go in the stage at Iowa is unfathomable to me when short track racing was our bread and butter 5 years ago. We have traded the superstars of our sports, like in terms of track type, for intermediates, and then immediately moved away from the intermediates. And I feel like I'm going insane because I think I've been on this show 4 times, and I think those exact words have left my mouth in all 4 of them.
Yes. It has been really, really frustrating as a fan to see these tracks, and also tracks that have a lot of history in the sport, too. I mean, Watkins Glen has been a staple for decades. We know these conversations are going to circle back probably at Bristol in September, and we know how important Bristol is to the sport. And to see these facilities not be producing the action in the top series that they should are definitely frustrating. But I want to transition because the one guy who was able to make some passes was Shane Van Gisbergen, who went 12th to 1st during that run at the start of stage 3. And then even in a race where everybody went into the weekend, myself included, thinking maybe he's not going to have that same dominant speed that he did in other races. He didn't win last year. This is not as technical of a road course. And he still wins by over 10 seconds. Now he's got 4 wins. And Steven, I'm starting to think, with all the playoff points built up, and then the fact that the Roval is in round 2, am I crazy to think that there's a pathway for Shane Van Gisbergen to make the round of 8?
Not crazy, no, but I think he would take some help. He would have to average a finish of 20th in order, like, this is, I think there was a tweet about it. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was like the lowest amount of points scored to advance into the round of 12 at like 2069 or 2070 or so. And that's about it with his amount of, assuming he doesn't get any other playoff points, which I think is a pretty safe assumption considering they've all come from road courses. He would need to average a finish about 20th. Is that impossible? No. Do I think he'll do it? No, I don't. I don't think he's there yet. And I don't think you're crazy. Like, I'm not saying it's the most outlandish thing in the world, especially with the fact that we've seen so much of it be track position. And who knows? He could probably play a few stages to get some points that would probably boost him up. Even if he finishes 28th in the race, he could probably score 20th place points and get there with some chaos. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm at that point yet. But and I want to make this clear, right? My problem with road courses is not fundamentally in the domination. It's not fundamentally in the road courses at all. I actually enjoy road courses. I do think 6 or 7 is too many. Yeah, I do. Like, and by the way, for all the people who are going to be like, oh, well, that's just silly. Road courses are awesome. I think 6 super speedways is too many, right? Like, I mean, we're an oval racetrack series, and like, I don't know. I don't think what makes these races special is the fact that they're special, not the fact that they make up a 1/6 of the schedule. And now a 1/6 of the schedule is road courses. A 1/6 of the schedule is super speedways. A 1/6 of the schedule is short tracks, right? So, and then again, like back to the point of we built an oval race car for that purpose. So what are we doing here? I don't really know. I find myself very often frustrated and confused. I wish we would do something different with the road course package to make it better. I actually can appreciate, as you know, even though I'm a small-time driver who's never won in stock cars, I can appreciate dominance for what it is. I love it. It is awesome to watch somebody dominate, especially when it's not an entire season, but rather at a specific track type. What SVG is doing is unbelievable, and I think he'd win no matter what type of road course car we designed. But at the end of the day, I still want to see a road course car where people can fight, right? Like, I want to see that. I want to see passing and other stuff going on besides. It doesn't even look like these guys are driving hard at times. Like, it just looks like they're cruising. It really does. It's crazy. Meanwhile, in the Xfinity car, like, they're loose, they're on edge, they're wrecking big, and like, again, big wrecks don't make a good race, but it does show that they're on edge more than they are in the Cup cars. The only time I ever feel like we see cautions anymore in Cup is when we're trying to make an aggressive pass on a track where we can't make any passes. Like, I don't know. I'm just so frustrated by the Cup Series right now. It's crazy.
Well, then I'll spare you Cup conversation. My last question, I'm going to go back to the Xfinity Series, because one other topic that's been a hot topic of the week, and Tim and I had quite the debate about it on Monday, was the crash that happened in the Xfinity race at Watkins Glen. Obviously, a lot of talk, Austin Hill a couple weeks prior with Indianapolis. This did not feel intentional at all, but it brought into conversation a lot. Was Michael McDowell giving enough room? Was it necessary for Austin Hill to be out there? Does this all boil down to a track limits issue with the road courses? Because everybody's going further and further out wide every year we go to Watkins Glen. From your vantage point as a driver, how do you kind of break down what happened in that accident on Saturday?
I feel like I'm a little biased because of recent history with that 21 car. And I'll try my best not to be, but it is tough for me as a guy who did a ton of road course style stuff in karting, right? That's what I grew up doing. Mm-hmm. That's what I learned how to drive on. That's what I learned how to race on. The rule always was, don't go somewhere if the room's not there, right? Like, it is not somebody's fault for not leaving you room when you ran yourself out of room. And that's the rule, right? Like, there is not room there at Watkins Glen. Like, it doesn't exist. And there's a reason why most people don't go out that wide. And I find it hard to believe that Austin Hill ever thought he was going to complete that pass. That's my biggest problem with it. It wasn't like it was a ballsy move that had a potential to get him to second place. To me, it felt like a reckless move that had no potential to end at anything but what it did. And that's just where my head's at with it, right? Like, and maybe you feel differently, Eddie.
No, I'm on your side. I'm glad I'm getting someone else because Tim was driving me crazy here. I'm glad I got someone else on my side here.
Like, is there another way for that to end? Probably not. No. So I think Austin Hill is a very, very talented race car driver, and like, I think people are detracting from his talent as a race car driver because of the way he drives on the racetrack. And it's the problem is that I love drivers who are all about checkers or wreckers. I think it's what our sport was made popular on. I think it's what foundationally makes us more interesting at times. And I don't think everybody should drive that way. But I do think there's a line, right? And it's why I appreciate Carson Rosenbar for what he is. Does he cross the line? Absolutely. But we need guys like him. We need people who people think are controversial. And that's why some people love Hocevar, and that's why some people hate him, but that's why people hate to race against him. And that's what made a very certain special someone very special back in the day. Now, Hocevar's got to figure out the winning stuff, and I bet you if he gets in a little bit better equipment, he'll win a ton of races. He's got raw speed, and the kid's got a ton of talent. But Austin Hill has crossed over that threshold to the point where, to me, at times, it just feels flat out reckless. Like, I don't really know what we're doing anymore. Like, the Eric Almirola thing was just insane. And I said something on Twitter that got a little bit of lashback, too. We talked a lot about Twitter today, Eddie. Which is, you know, Eric Almirola has driven in the Xfinity Series in a way that deserved retaliation. Like, he should be fenced at some point. You watch the way, even earlier in that race, maybe you remember, maybe you don't, he drove Justin Allgaier all the way to the pit barrier wall on lap 1 or 2.
Yes.
Like, blunt them straight down. And he does a move like that pretty much every week he's in the Xfinity Series. We're like, wow, that is the ragged edge, especially when you're racing against guys who are competing for titles in these series. Like Allgaier is racing for the points lead, and you're dumping him on lap. You're risking dumping both of you and junking your cars on lap 2 of a race over 5th place or whatever they were fighting for, right? But that's not paying somebody back. That's flat out stupid. And if there's one place where you don't pay somebody back in all of NASCAR, it's probably Indianapolis. Like maybe outside of Daytona or Talladega.
Yeah.
I think it's probably Indianapolis. Because that was just a vicious impact, and I don't think anybody ever deserves that. But yeah, that's where my head's at on the Austin Hill type deal. And you know, like I said, I think Austin's a really talented race car driver, but I think he's not gonna. I think a lot of people are going to race him very differently if he keeps going down this path.
Yeah, very valid. Good talk. Good takes. Stephen Mallozzi going to be back on the track Friday night at Richmond Raceway. Stephen, thanks for stopping by. Best of luck this weekend.
Anytime, Eddie. Thanks for having me on.